On today's episode, we explore one of the most intense emotions a person can experience: anger stemming from betrayal trauma. Liz and I welcome Dr. Crystal Hollenbeck, an expert in this field, to the show. Together, we dive deep into her latest research, uncovering insights such as the percentage of individuals who stay with their partners after betrayal and the prevalence of self-blame and self-harm among those affected. Dr. Hollenbeck also shares valuable tips for those who have experienced betrayal trauma, including crucial questions to ask a helping professional or therapist. Dr. Crystal Hollenbeck is a betrayal trauma specialist and helps couples heal the wounds of betrayal trauma. Her article, recently published in the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy, provides recommendations for clinicians to help betrayed partners manage the complexity of betrayal trauma anger. Her book, entitled Betrayal Trauma Anger: You Are Not Crazy, You Are Angry, and You Should Be, was recently released. Hey, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Stronger Marriage Connection podcast. I'm Dr. Dave here at Utah State University, alongside Dr. Liz Hale, our licensed clinical psychologist, marriage family therapist. We're aiming to bring you the very best that we have in research and resources, along with tips and tools to help you create the marriage of your dreams. Now, we talk about marriage of your dreams, but sometimes, many times, Liz, this does not happen. And there are struggles. There are even difficult and dark times. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is relatable to many people. It could be a difficult one, maybe a challenging one for many people, bring up some just some emotions through all this. We're talking about anger. We're talking about betrayal trauma and the struggles. We have an expert all the way from Orlando, Florida, Dr. Crystal Hollenbeck. Welcome to the show, Dr. H. We're glad that you made time to join us today.
Hi, I'm so excited to talk with both of you today. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Hey, Crystal, before we jump in and dive deep into this betrayal trauma and this anger, what got you into this? What made you tell us a little bit about your story? Why did you dive into these deep waters of this difficult but very important area?
Well, I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and my three specialties are relationships, sex therapy, and trauma recovery. And I see a lot of couples. And of course, if you're going to see couples, unfortunately, there's going to be betrayal. And for many years now, I have wanted to put something in the hands of a betrayed partner that would validate their experience, would help them to know what to expect in the therapeutic process. And then also I've created a model for the different stages of anger that you experience after you've been betrayed.
Oh, man. I'm excited to really dive into that because I think that there are just a lot of people. I know some personally, extended family members who have been through this. And so I really feel that this will be a helpful episode for so many. So thank you.
This is really when the dream becomes a nightmare, Crystal and Dave, right? And so would you say, Crystal, that most couples at some time have to deal with trauma? There's probably a various scale, right? Various levels of trauma. Would you say that most couples have something along those lines?
I would say just about every human being has some type of traumatic experience, right? Liz, whether it's through childhood or your early life, whether it's relational, whether it's a natural disaster you have to survive, or death or loss. But when it's betrayal trauma anger, it's so much of a deeper wound related to there's so many reasons to be angry because it's not supposed to happen. This is the person that you trust, that you've given your heart and your life to. And when they betray you, it really not only upsets your whole entire world as you knew it, but it's such a violation to your person. It totally rewrites your history of what you thought it was with this person. And so it's devastating. I did a survey in 2023 with betrayed partners, and they use the word over and over and over in their comments. It's just devastating. And so there's a lot to be angry about.
Yeah. I so get that. Just a silly story just happened real quick. If you don't mind me sharing, Dave and Crystal, just last weekend. So I was driving Ben. I'm usually not in the driver's seat. My husband's in the passenger seat. I was dropping him off to pick up a car. And, this is my fault because I was looking to the left and he was sitting, to my right. And I said, "It's clear my way. Is it clear your way?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's clear." So I turned, and clearly it was not clear to my right because this white truck came creaming past us nearly. And he even ran the red light that was ahead of us. And I just remember that was so upsetting to me. I felt so betrayed. Not to make light, there are bigger issues, I realize, but still just that raw feeling of, oh my gosh, he put me in harm's way himself also. And I guess clearly what was clear to him is not clear to me. But I just remember that feeling and it shook me up for a couple of days.
That is an example. Yeah, that is an example of betrayal in a way. Some people would maybe minimize that, but you want him to have your best interest at heart. You want to feel safe with him. You want to know that he's going to take extra care for you. And so that is a kind of betrayal. Absolutely.
Traditionally professionals, and we viewed the angry, betrayed partner through this pathological lens, probably unfairly so, truly unfairly so. But that trauma lens has shifted in recent years. The more we've appreciated PTSD, it seems. How has that shift impacted the assessment, the treatment, and the support of these partners, Crystal?
Well, as professionals, we used to look at the betrayed partner as a co-addict or a codependent, especially when your partner has chronic betrayal. So they may be diagnosed with a sex addiction, even one affair, right? The reason was because the betrayed partner is so dysregulated. Their whole world is turned upside down. And so they were looked at through a pathological lens. Today, we look at it as a traumatized individual. You are experiencing PTSD. I'm certified as a betrayed trauma therapist. So there's a whole professional criteria that you meet. There's a model that is followed to treat traumatized individuals. But for so long, they suffered because they were, diagnosed as if there was something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. It's what happened to them. And they've been traumatized. And so it's really significant today that we realize these people have been traumatized and they're not going to behave like their normal self for a little while. They're going to need some time for healing.
Yeah, Crystal, you mentioned anger. Can we dive into that a little bit? I'm sure anger, it's got to be obviously one of the strongest emotions felt when a partner has been betrayed. What are some of the most effective therapy approaches, tips? You mentioned some steps to help individuals through this experience of betrayal and even sexual trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, expect to be angry. Right? The title of my book, Betrayal, Trauma, Anger, you're not crazy, you're angry, and you should be. You're going to feel like you're crazy, but you're not crazy. You're angry. So expect that. Also, the most important thing to do is self-care, right? You need to tell a safe person if you've been betrayed. And sometimes that's so hard because you don't know who to tell for so many reasons. There's so much fear and disorganization happening in your brain when you've been traumatized, but tell someone that you think is a safe person that you trust. And of course, seek out help as soon as possible. Getting a therapeutic structured process to help you recover from the trauma is so important. And then you're going to have to learn how to self-regulate yourself as well. When we think about self-care, we think about diet and exercise and sleep and having someone to talk to and doing something for fun and dance. Well, when you're really traumatized and angry, it's really hard to do self-care. It's very hard. Your brain is dysregulated and your emotions are all over the place because everything you thought was isn't. And so you're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. But as you lean into self-care, tell a safe person so you have someone to talk to that you trust. And then you're going to learn how to regulate yourself. You're going to learn how to calm down, do some guided imagery, deep breathing exercises. Breath work is so important. Take a deep breath in your nose and hold it and out your mouth. Exercise is one of the best things to do for self-care because it regulates your emotions. It helps your mental health. And it moves the energy through your body that's associated with anger or anxiety. So really tell someone the self-care, seek out a professional, and then, of course, really regulate yourself. And your therapist can give you tips to do that. But just drinking something warm can help you to calm down. Taking a soft blanket and wrapping it around you for comfort can really help. So, just think about that. What can you do for yourself? And it's hard because you're focused on what your betrayer has done, what's going on with your children. Oh my goodness, I got to go to work, or I've got to clean the home, or whatever it is that I do on my daily. I've got to meet with friends and I've got to keep the secret. They don't know. So it's just so overwhelming. But if you can focus on drinking water, even just doing something for yourself that can help, will at least get you started in those initial phase of crisis.
Mm-hmm. Man, self-care is tough enough, even when you're not going through betrayal. For us as women, it seems like, especially, Crystal, right? Yeah. I have downplayed self-care for decades and working on it more so now with a deliberate focus. I think you're absolutely right. You conducted and published a study that showed that about 84% of partners remain in relationships with the people that betrayed them. So what strategies do you have to help couples in rebuilding trust and attachment after this aftermath of betrayal? By the way, I think that's very good news that almost 84% make it through to the other side. But how do they do that?
Well, so my survey doesn't necessarily mean they made it to the other side. It meant that they did choose to stay, though, at this time. And I find that in my clinical practice, too, that most people do stay because you built a life with this person. You usually have children. You have finances intertwined. You love this person. You spent, so much of your memories are connected, your friends and family. So there's a lot of reasons to stay. And usually what I tell people when they come into me, and they're always going to say to me, should I leave? Should I stay? What should I do? I feel like I betray myself if I stay because, people will say, I was the one that always said I would never put up with betrayal. I would leave. If he ever betrayed me or she ever betrayed me, I would leave. And I judged other people, right? I have people tell me that all the time. I judged my friends that stayed in their marriage. I was like, you should leave, right? Well, what we realize when you're in that situation, it's complex. It's not an easy decision to make. And so when you stay, rebuilding trust takes time. And we have to start with honesty. You need to be told everything that has happened, which is what we call a full disclosure. There needs to be steps taken for boundaries and rebuilding your trust. You can get to a place, though, that you have a really wonderful marriage. When you're in a marriage with someone who's betraying you, they're actually abusing you. They're not able to show up and be intimate with you. They are doing things behind your back that are causing you harm. You never really do have a good marriage when you're in a marriage with someone who's living a secret life. But when that person gets healthy and tells the truth and gets help and you are recovering, you can really build a beautiful marriage together. I have so many couples that tell me, of course, we're horrified that betrayal happened. We're never glad that that happened. But there's so much good that comes from it because their marriage is so much stronger and healthier, and they're so much happier as a couple after they heal from betrayal.
I've seen it. I so agree.
Yeah, Crystal, as you're talking about this, I have people that I know who've been through this, and it's even been a year and a half, still going through, and they're doing better, but they have good days and bad days. They have there's often triggers, right? I talk to this person, man, there's triggers, or I see something or something happens, and I'll get triggered and have one of those. Any thoughts about patience through this process, timelines, and not comparing yourself to others? What do you think there?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It really impacts your sense of self, of who you are. and your mind is overwhelmed, you'll stay up hours and hours trying to find information on what's happened to you. And when you're triggered, a trigger is just simply something that reminds you of what's happened. And so one of the easiest tools to use for managing triggers that I recommend to my clients is validate the trigger. So when the thought comes in, or you hear a name, or you smell something, validate it. That did happen. That is painful. That does remind me of that. And then add the word and then tell yourself what the truth is. I'm okay right now. I can call my friend and talk about this, right? I can go take a walk, right? It's not happening now. What they did is out of my control, right? So you would tell yourself to ground yourself back into the present moment. Right now, in this moment, I'm okay, right? And so when you process it is the important part of it. If we try to make it go away, it's not going away. We just had the thought or the experience that was a trigger. So it's not going away. We've got to process it. That helps the brain and the nervous system when we validate the information and then we tell it what we want it to be. So instead of being like, I can't believe he did that. It's so painful. Oh my gosh, I can never go to that restaurant again now. And we can hype it up and hype it up and hype it up. That's what's going to cause all of the problems physically. And so what we want to do is just, yes, acknowledge it. That happened. It's so painful. And what do I know the truth is? And then move on with whatever you were doing.
I love that. Thank you for that. Very helpful. Those concrete tips when those triggers come. You mentioned seeing therapists. I know I saw also in some of the research you found that 39% of betrayed partners reported that they didn't receive specific help to manage the anger from their helping professional. What's going on here with professionals, and what should betrayed partners say, if anything, on their end when they meet with a mental health professional?
Yes, I was shocked. I was so shocked because anger is something that you definitely see related, like you said earlier, with post-traumatic stress disorder. And we know that our betrayed partners are traumatized. In the article, I actually wrote the article, Dr. Barbara Steffens and I, which Dr. Barbara Steffens is the guru in this field. Her research is what brought the attention to our profession about betrayed partners being traumatized individuals. She also is the founding president of APSATS, which is the Association of Partners. So professionals that treat partners, which is where I'm certified under as well. In this article, I recommend six things for clinicians and coaches too. You can have a betrayal trauma coach or a clergy that may be helping you. Your spiritual leader might. So these are six things that I recommend. If you're not getting these, if your therapist or coach or clergy isn't doing this with you, this is what you should be asking for and talking with them about. So assess, this is again talking to the clinician. They should be assessing the betrayed partner's experience of betrayal, trauma, anger initially and throughout the therapeutic process. In other words, they should be asking you, how are you managing your anger? Where are you expressing it? Are you suppressing your anger and not sharing it? Ask anger-specific questions and provide anger management techniques. They should be providing you with anger management techniques right at the beginning of therapy and throughout. Ask for help to manage your anger. Sometimes as a betrayed partner, it brings up a lot of shame because you're behaving in a way that you don't normally behave. Yelling, screaming, breaking things, hitting your betrayer. Don't let that shame keep you from getting help. Tell your therapist that you're doing that so they can help you to regulate yourself. Explore how betrayal, trauma, anger may be impacting a betrayed partner's faith and faith community. This is extremely important. When you are betrayed, sometimes you're angry at God, and sometimes your faith community has told you to hurry up and forgive, or have more sex with your partner, or put the responsibility on you to solve the problem. This is really important. The faith community and your faith practices can be a great comfort and support to you during this time of healing, or it may be a source of pain. So that needs to be discussed in the therapeutic process. Prepare to provide nonviolent psychoeducation and resources for managing betrayal, trauma, anger. Be mindful of personal betrayal biases and offer support to the partner if they wish to stay in the relationship after betrayal. Just like you said, Liz, 84% have chosen to stay. As therapists and coaches, we've got to take a look at our own bias. Like I said earlier, a lot of people that come in to see me are like, I'm the one that said I would never stay, right? So we have to take a look at our own bias so that we don't project that onto our clients. If you notice your therapist is pushing you to leave or pushing you to stay, have a voice for that. Say, I appreciate what you're sharing with me, but I want to make that decision on my own. So if you feel pressured in any way, you want to speak up. And then continue to advocate and provide psychoeducational support to other colleagues and clients that a betrayed partner will likely experience anger in a way that they have never prior to being betrayed. 84% said that the anger they experience after discovering betrayal is more intense than ever in their life that they've ever experienced. So it's a pretty serious part of the healing process.
We'll be right back after this brief message. And we're back. Well, let's dive right in.
Considering the high rates of self-blame, 87%, that's huge. And thoughts of self-harm, up to 43% among betrayed partners. What can be done to reduce this?
Well, I can't say this enough that if you know a betrayed partner or, you're seeing a betrayed partner as a professional or you have a friend or a family member, they need validation. They don't need your advice. They just need validation and they need non-judgment validation, right? So you really just need to support them, let them know that you're there for them. When you're betrayed by your intimate partner, you feel like you're not good enough. They chose somebody else. You feel like you're not thin enough or pretty enough or skinny enough, or you don't have sex enough, or, you take it on that there must be something wrong with you that the person that you love and are in a committed relationship would choose to be with someone else. So most people, and you can see this is so high, 87% of just the ones that answered my survey. And then the self-harm. Self-harm is a way to get relief for deep emotional pain. And so when you're in so much pain, you can't get relief. Sometimes harming yourself, just that physical pain, directs that emotional pain and gives it somewhere to go. If you have been betrayed and you're thinking about harming yourself, or you've been engaged in harming yourself in some way, and harming could be abusing alcohol, abusing prescription drugs. There's a lot of different ways, excessive exercise, starving yourself, cutting yourself, punching yourself, pinching yourself. There's lots of different ways. What I recommend is get an ice cube and put an ice cube on your skin. It gives you that same stinging sensation that self-harm will, like cutting or pinching, but it doesn't harm you. Also, you can put a rubber band around your wrist and just flick it. You'll get a little ping and a sensation, but a rubber band isn't going to leave major welts or damage on your skin. But just know that, if you are betrayed and listening to this today, I'm so sorry, but don't take it out on yourself. You're not the one that did the wrong. And it was not your fault in any way that you were betrayed. So seek help, especially if you're harming yourself.
Such an important message. Thank you, Dr. H. What you mentioned some of these other types of behavioral or physiological or psychological effects. I can imagine, for example, just trying to even fall asleep. When you don't sleep, and then it affects every other area of your life, or not eat, or all these other areas. Where even spiritual areas, as you mentioned before. What's the first step, or I guess bit of advice that you have for them in reaching out for help in these other areas? Because I'm sure it spills over into every area of your life. This is the most traumatic thing that's happened to you.
You're so right. Your mental health is affected. Your emotions are all over the place. You're crying uncontrollably. You're having these anger outbursts that are so unlike you. You might have financial risks because your betrayer may have been spending money. They might be sued with a sexual harassment lawsuit. They may have been spending a lot of money on their acting out behaviors. They may have lost a job because of their sexual betrayal. So you're at risk financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I just talked about a few minutes ago. Of course, physically, you can be in physical danger of getting an STD from your partner when they have betrayed you. I've had people come and knock on people's door, right? Your children are at risk. Your children may have come across inappropriate material on electronics belonging to the betrayer. I've had children that have found text messages on their parents' phone of inappropriate, and they are the ones that discovered the betrayal. Sometimes they will betray you with family members and friends and coworkers. So your whole world can feel unsafe and upside down. Every single part of you is turned upside down. When I talk about the first phase of betrayal, trauma, anger, it's the crisis phase. And you're right, Dave, when you are so overwhelmed, right? I tell you to do self-care, but as I say in that chapter in my book, I'm like, look, reality is you can't sleep, you can't eat, your mind is all over the place. But I think telling that safe person and coming to see a professional or your pastor or someone, just talking can really just help. Probably it's the first step when you're so traumatized.
Wow. Powerful. Thank you. Yeah, very helpful.
You mentioned, Dr. H, that with 84% of betrayed partners reporting this intense anger, more than any other anger they've experienced before, what techniques do you teach them to help cope with and regulate these intense emotions in a healthy way?
Well, one of the things that I recommend is called a SKIP protocol. I developed this protocol several years ago to help my clients manage anger and anxiety. It's SCIP. Sit down, calm down, identify, and process. And this only takes literally a few minutes to do. So you want to prepare yourself, maybe have a chair that you go to when you're upset and have some Tic Tacs, some essential oils, maybe a cozy blanket. But as soon as you notice you're upset, what's happening in the brain is the amygdala is in overdrive. And if we just kind of look at it like the child is out of control. And your frontal cortex, which is your logic and reasoning, is kind of the parent. And so when your amygdala is in overdrive, the parent isn't there. Your frontal lobe is shut down, your frontal cortex. So what happens is you're going to do and say crazy. You cannot calm a person down when they're in that state. So what you have to do is go sit down in that chair. Then you're going to calm down by going through your senses, put a Tic Tac or something in your mouth for taste, put some essential oil under your nose for smell, close your eyes and listen to some sounds in the room, look at color in the room, and then maybe touch your clothing, touch that soft blanket. Once you go through your senses, your brain has calmed down and now your frontal cortex is working again. Now you can say, okay, what is going on with me? You can identify why you're upset. And then you're going to process it. And just quickly, a process would be, what about this is out of my control that I need to let go of, not give it time and attention? And what can I do? And then go get busy what you can do, whether that's establishing a boundary, calling someone to talk about it, or asking for what you need.
So, Crystal and Dave, I guess not all things on the internet are created equal. Obviously, we know, right? Sometimes I'll read the literature on betrayal trauma and it just leaves me with kind of a sick feeling, a really depressed feeling, Crystal. Is there some truth to that? Because when I'm listening to you, I don't feel that way. I feel such hope. It's like the things that, what can we do? What can that person do to take back some of that control? Have you found that as a professional that there are some things that are harmful in the name of betrayal trauma therapy?
Oh my, yes.
Oh, I'm so
Anytime,
relieved to hear you say that.
yeah, Liz, and you see couples, anytime you are trying to do couples therapy or marriage therapy before you've addressed the betrayal trauma healing, that's what causes a lot of harm. And I have had so many clients come to me, which is one of the reasons why we wrote this article and that I'm doing the book talking about the therapeutic process as well. Because so many couples come to me and they've tried to do marriage therapy. And, they try to make it, well, what part did you have? And what part did you? It's more traumatizing. Couples suffer from it. The person who betrayed isn't getting the help that they need. The betrayed partner isn't getting their help. And they're not addressing the underlying. It's like if you had a tsunami came through and destroyed your house. And, you have a lot that has to be rebuilt. You can't pick paint color for walls when your house is laying in shambles. And so you have to really address what just happened, right? And we have to start rebuilding. And so you're absolutely right. Anytime that a partner is blamed, anytime the betrayer doesn't get help, they are traumatized too by being discovered. And so, they both need help.
Yes. Great. Great.
Dr. H, this has been so very helpful. I know you have a book coming out. Is it out? Is it coming out soon? It's called Betrayal, Trauma, Anger. You are not crazy. You are angry, and you should be. First, I absolutely love the title. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, so it should have been out 6 months ago if we're going to be real about this, but hopefully it's going to be out by August.
All right.
But yes, so the first part really talks about betrayal trauma, and then we move into betrayal trauma anger, and then I've created a model of 7 phases, and it's filled with lots of techniques. My SKIP protocol is in there. A lot of information from the survey is in there, and so I'm hoping to get it out soon, hopefully within the next month or two.
Oh, that is great. We will absolutely put a link to that in our show notes. So thank you.
I will be looking for that book. Can't wait to put it on my bookshelf, Crystal. Please tell us, where can our listeners find out more about you, your resources that you offer? Where do they go, please?
If you just want to go to my website, which is just my name, crystalhollenbeck.com, you'll see a little newsletter pop up there. If you put your name on my newsletter, then you'll know when the book is coming out. You'll know other resources, where I'm speaking. I have articles and tips on there. So that would probably be the easiest.
Crystal, we can spell easily Hollenbeck, Hollenbeck. Very nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's right. Hey, Crystal, before we let you go, I would like to ask our guests a couple questions. The first one is, what do you feel like is the key to a stronger marriage connection?
Well, I think it's transparency, especially when we're talking about betrayal today. So I believe that in a healthy marriage, there are no secrets. We talk about everything. You can see my phone. You know where I am. You know who I speak to. You know what I do. And that includes boundaries to protect myself and to protect the marriage. So I think transparency is probably, the key.
Yeah. Love it. The second question then for you is your takeaway of the day. You've talked about so much great information. Is there a take-home message you hope our listeners will remember from our discussion today?
Yes, I would just say very simply, betrayal is a devastating injustice. And although you're going to feel like you're crazy, you're not crazy. You're angry, and you should be.
Devastating injustice. I love that. Liz, what about you? What's your takeaway of the day?
Isn't it? I've never heard the great advice around self-harm regarding using an ice cube, rubber band I've heard, but ice cube I haven't. I really love both of those, actually. So thank you for that. Because as I get that you're just trying to access the physical pain to release the emotional pain. Makes perfect sense, actually, but harmful. We're just continuing on the harm. So we have to stop. And I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Dave, what about you? What's your greatest takeaway today from our time together with Dr. Crystal Hollenbeck?
Yeah, it's been so helpful, Dr. H. Thank you. I think the take home for me, at least one of the many, is that avoiding that self-blame. It's that all of a sudden that inward, right? And anger turns us inward. And then it's some of this, maybe outward at first, but then it's this inward of what did I do? Yeah. Am I not skinny enough? Why did they do, kind of searching for this why, and then blaming themselves for this. So I love that message. I just want to echo that this is not your fault. People's choices are their choices, and this is not what you made them do any of this. So very important message. Again, Dr. H, thank you so much for making time to join us here today, talk about such a very important topic, great resources. We'll add those in our show notes. So appreciate you taking time to join us and share so much helpful information and resources with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing. You're helping so many people. So I'm so thankful to be a part of it. Thank you.
All right, my friends. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Stronger Marriage Connection. We'll see you next time.
And remember, it's the small things often that create a stronger marriage connection. Take care now.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.